Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Let's Talk About Layoffs. And let me check really quick before we get started. I want to make sure that we are streaming into the group. If you are listening on the live podcast, give me a hashtag live. If you're listening in the group later, give us a hashtag replay. We would love to know that you're here. Feel free to comment, ask questions, anything like that as we go. Okay, let me pull it up on my phone, make sure we're good to go. Yep, I see us in there. All right. So this episode, we have an awesome guest, Amanda McWhorter. So Amanda, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Tracy, thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Definitely, definitely. So Amanda and I got to talk, I think it was in the last week. Like, I feel like it's gone by so fast. So
Yeah.
a week or 2 weeks ago. And we were talking a little bit more about our experiences in corporate life and about the topic of burnout, which is really near and dear to Amanda's heart, I know. I'm not going to give an introduction to Amanda. I'll let her tell you a little bit of her story and kind of how she even got to become the corporate detox coach. And then we'll talk a little bit more about burnout and what that looks like. So, Amanda, you want to give us just a short little intro about who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Tracy. So, hi, everyone. My name is Amanda McWhorter. I am the Corporate Detox Coach, and I really work with women who are in burnout. Any corporate professional, you don't have to be a woman, but I always feel like my own experience really is the medicine that my clients need. I spent 18 years in corporate. I worked for the same company since I was in college and really started to just feel some misalignment over the years. I spent some time in human resources as well and made the knee jerk reaction to quit my career with no plan. And not like I had not even looked for jobs in 18 years and decided to figure out what else was out there. I just knew that I was miserable. And really, I wanted to find myself in that process. And it opened up this whole journey of my own burnout and how I can help clients now. So, at the time, I didn't know I was burnout, Tracy. I think we talked about that a
Yep.
little bit.
Yep.
And it's so important.
Definitely. So I want to ask you a question, Amanda. You said it
Yeah.
was a knee-jerk reaction to
Mhm.
leave that corporate job after all that time. How long, like once you thought to yourself, I'm leaving, like this is it, from the time that you had that thought to the time you left the company, how long was that?
So I worked grocery retail and they made a decision to change schedules going into the holiday. And I'm a single mom and it was going to affect my schedule with my son. And really, I found out about it on a Sunday and I resigned on Wednesday.
Wow. So that was
Yeah.
really quick.
It was very quick. I did give them a month's notice. So I still worked a month after I turned in my resignation, but in that process, I had a lot of people try to talk me out of it. A lot of people that were just questioning my sanity at the time, quite honestly, on what was going on.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I took that leap of faith because it really has set me on this journey. And I can look back on my human resource experience and just realize how much we didn't support people
Mhm.
in burnout.
Yeah.
And nobody was supporting me at the time, right? And that's really what led to me leaving.
Yeah, and you said you didn't even really realize that you were in burnout at that time. Looking back though, because like even me and my experience of being laid off, like I can look back and I can see like here's some red flags, here's some signs. Can you look back on your own experience and you see different things that happened and you're like, I was in burnout. Like I just didn't realize it.
Oh, absolutely. I can now. At the time I couldn't because it was so normal to me. Right. So if
Yeah.
anyone's listening and you're like, I'm not in burnout, just listen to more of this podcast because I can promise you that, we're going to bring up some things that you might resonate with. So for me, I worked for a company where there was this culture of always being on, right? We worked 6 days a week typically, and sometimes more. And even after we would leave the store for the day, we would come home and there would still be things going on. So I'd be answering texts and phone calls and emails, at all hours of the evening and even into the night. Um, I can truly tell you that I was so exhausted,
Mm.
but it was normal to me. Like, I just thought that's what life was like. And then once I stepped away, it really just opened up this whole different view where then I could start focusing on my health. I didn't realize the effect that it was having on my health, right? So, another one of the red flags, I had gone to a cardiologist multiple times because I thought I was having heart issues.
Oh
And all
gosh.
all of my testing was coming back negative or coming back good, right? Like there was nothing
Mhm.
major going on. Here it was like in real times of stress and pressure that it was happening. And of course, I wasn't going to the emergency room for it. So by the time I would get back into the doctor, things would level out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but everyone around me was working crazy hours, right? We were texting people like our coworkers 10, 11 o'clock at night. We slept with our phones. I can say that for a lot of us. We were checking our email in the middle of the night, making sure the stores were okay in the middle of the night. And it wasn't a good atmosphere. There was just so much pressure to be there and be present that when you did have some time off, you were just so concerned of what was going on in the stores.
Mm. So even when you had time off or vacation, it wasn't really, you were still tied to it
Very
in
much
some
tied to
way.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, what made you decide to leave versus see if there was another opportunity like within the organization itself?
So for me, I live in Wheeling, West Virginia. The grocery retailer that I work for was our division office was in Columbus. So I was already 2 hours from the division office, and I had at that time run the biggest store close to me. I was at now a store, the volume was much smaller when I made that decision to leave. And I had held multiple roles within the district. So much had changed that the job that I could do for the company at the time was on the road even more,
Mhm.
right? So I would be picking up stores in Columbus, and I was 2 hours away. So having a son, being here, right? It was just logistically, it was just very, very hard. At the time, there wasn't an other job offered to me, but I was very dead set that I just did not want to be with that company anymore. And I
Mhm.
wanted something that was going to give me the flexibility to be a better mom at the time.
Yeah. So, once you decided to leave, like what happened in the first week? Like
Oh
for
my
you? Like
gosh.
mindset, like did you start thinking, "Oh shit, like what did I just do?" Or did you sleep the whole time? Like
So
what's kind of
I drove 2 hours to meet my boss. I met him in Newark, Ohio at a store, and I dropped my son off at a family member's house that lived out there because I wanted to be reminded of like my why, right? When I was driving there. And I can tell you the feeling when I turned that in that resignation, I knew that it was the right thing for me. There was no second guessing. I just felt like 1,000 pounds had been lifted off my
Mhm.
shoulders. So there was this big unknown, but there was also this excitement too of what is going to come next because I had never explored anything outside of that company ever.
Wow. Wow. So, did you take your time to start to explore other things, kind of figure out what's next? Or did you just really take the time with your why, your son, and like spend some time just with him? Or what did that look like?
Yeah, so I took a few weeks. I started looking up like what are the possibilities of working from home
Hmm.
and being a freelancer. Like, what would that look like, right? So I started dabbling into some of the communities here online, and then I really put the brakes. I left there like the beginning of December. So for 3 weeks, I enjoyed the holidays, which I had never been able to do since I was in college, right?
Wow.
So, um, for 18 years, I was working during the
Yeah.
holidays. So the ability to just enjoy Christmas was amazing. And then coming into the first of the year is when I decided to start. At the time, I started as an online business manager. So I jumped right into a certification, and started the process of opening my own business. And I was super pumped for that because it was this whole new world that did not exist in grocery retail. And it really did, like, there was so much unknown with it. But I was super excited. I would say the mindset stuff started to come a couple months into that,
Okay.
because I was good at my job in corporate. I loved it. I knew it. I had been doing it for so long. I'd been working with a lot of the same people for so long that it was such a new world that I really doubted my ability to do anything. I was questioning everything.
Uh,
So I would say mindset is probably one of those things that I did not expect would ever be an issue until it hit me a couple months down the road.
and how did you work through that?
I got a coach, and that helped tremendously. And really just surrounding myself with people online that were going through the same thing is, even to this day, 3 years in, is just, it's so comforting. But I look back, right, on how confident I was then. And I have to remember that even being in this new role, right, being my own boss, I need to be just as confident now as I was walking a grocery store and, you know what
Right.
I mean, delivering to our customers. It just looks different now.
Right. Right. So, Amanda, I know you saw some of the red flags like later on of what you had leading up to burnout. What are some of the things that you would say? Because some of the clients that you work with now deal with burnout, they deal with, walking away or dealing with corporate, whatever that might look like. But what are some of the signs that people are seeing that you've worked with of burnout that they may not even think is burnout?
So honestly, people come to me and they are like super anxious, right? They feel depressed sometimes because a lot of the characteristics of burnout are the same as depression. Depression, to, I like to say, is something that, like, you've had a much longer, right? So really, when they come to me, they're totally depleted and do not feel themselves. So what we start to do is really work on what are they experiencing, right? And how do they want to feel? Not what the world's telling them they should feel, but how do they want to feel? So I like to take a holistic approach with my clients. It's not just professionally, but we look at personal aspects of their life as well. So, for a lot of people, they wanna blame their company for their burnout. I know that was me, right? I was totally blaming my employer at the time for my burnout. And what I found, and what my clients find, is that often we have internal factors that help us get to that burnout state.
Mm,
So once we start uncovering those, it's like the light goes off and it makes working through things a lot easier. Here's the thing with burnout though. You can't just, like, take a class and not be burnout tomorrow,
right.
right?
It's not an overnight quick fix kind of thing
No,
at all.
not at all. It's
Yep.
taken us a very, very long time to get to that state. So there are so many things that we have to address along the way. But we do. We start with taking that holistic approach. How do they want to feel? Right? Start looking at how do we get them regulated? And then at that point, once they get kind of calmed down and get rid of the brain fog, we can start really working through what's the next step. So, with my clients, it's either you either want to stay where you're at and learn how to thrive, or you want to make a change. And that doesn't always mean leaving the corporate world altogether. It might just be finding a right fit position, right? It could be the same company, could be a
Yep.
different company, or it could be going out on your own. But everybody is different. So I recently had a client who, she came from retail as well, and she took a couple months off. We worked through her burnout, and she's actually subbing right now in the public school system and loving it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, it's given her something to do, right? She doesn't
Mhm.
feel like I'm just at home, not doing anything. And it's really opening her eyes to like what else is out there that she has never done before. So she has a long-term sub position right now. She might not come August when school starts, she might decide to pivot into something else, but she's really
Right.
enjoying just the exploration piece of it.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, one of the things you said when you talked about finding out how do they want to feel, and I wrote a note down because I'm like, I feel like so many people don't know. They've never been given an opportunity to do what they want. It's always
Mhm.
like expectations. It's like you come out of high school, you go into the job market and like you just do what people are telling you to do. And so I wonder if some of your clients, do they struggle with trying to even figure out like what do I want? Like how do I want to feel and what do I want? And like you said, even with your client now or the client that's subbing didn't even know, like trying to explore what are the options, things like that.
So funny story, when I was a few months into starting my business, and a coach of mine, I was in a coaching call, hot seat, right? So she's coaching me through some things, and she said at the end, "How does that feel?" And I had no response. And she said, "Amanda, do you know what I mean? Like, how does that feel?" And I'm like, I have no clue what you it feels good. And that's the day that I realized that we are so accustomed to making decisions with our mind, right? And not with our heart and our soul and how it feels in our body. And that is one of the things that when I work with my clients, I get a lot of the same reactions right out of the gate. What do you mean? I want to feel better. Right? I want to feel
I
better.
want to feel not burnout.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different mindset when people start making decisions based on how something makes them feel. And it doesn't have to be career related. It could be anything. It can be, where are you going to eat for dinner tonight? Are you going to have a hard conversation with someone? Or are you going to shove it down? Right. So, really tapping into your feelings is part of what we do to help heal our burnout. Because if not, our mind's going to keep telling us what we have been conditioned to, not only in corporate life, but just from our families, from growing up, right?
Yep.
So it really is a whole different ball game when you start really feeling into things.
Right. Yeah. One of the things, and this might sway us a different direction, but one of the things I was thinking of, I was telling somebody just recently, like when I had gotten laid off, and my parents, probably more than anybody, are like, when are you going to get a job? I have my own business. I'm teaching. I was working full time. Like, I have other jobs and like, but I don't know if it's the generation or what it is. Like, entrepreneurship doesn't seem like a real job or something. Did you get that, or do you have clients that kind of get that pressure from whether it's family or friends to be like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Yes.
let's get it together. Like, go back and get this W-2, like real job kind of thing.
So let's address two things, right? Because it's
Uh-huh.
like two separate. So if you decide just to take time off before you jump into anything, there are people that will look at you like you're crazy.
Yep.
And at times, we start to take on what we feel like people are like pushing on us, right? And we could start questioning whether we are, or like, am I lazy? So on my burnout journey, when I was so exhausted, Tracy, and this was after I left corporate. I mean, this was probably 5 months or more, maybe even longer than that, post leaving corporate. And I had started this healing journey with my burnout. And I could not make it to 4 p.m. without taking a nap. I couldn't do it. I could
I'm right
not
there
do
with
it.
you. Yeah.
And I felt like I felt broken. No one had ever talked about like how do you actually like what's the effect?
Yep.
So I went the route of getting it's called a Dutch test, which is a hormonal test, and it's something you can do at home. And the day that I was on a Zoom and was getting the results from the doctor I was working with at the time, I sobbed when I realized that the reason I was so exhausted was because of all of the damage to my hormones and how
Mm.
unregulated my hormones were that were most likely brought on from my burnout and working like a crazy loon for 18 years, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, I want to just honor anyone that is like listening to this today. It is okay to rest and it is okay to take a career break. You have obviously you've got to make sure that you can, pay your bills and be able to survive during that time.
Right.
But if you are fortunate enough to be able to do that, it is totally okay. The majority of the people surrounding you will not understand.
Yep.
The second thing is when you go to get back out there, right, into the workforce, and you decide you're going to start your own business, there are a lot of people that will look at you like you just gave up all security that you've had your entire life. So I think we're reminded all the time, Tracy, online about if this was easy, everybody would do it. And it's okay. You're not going to come out of this. The majority of people do not leave their corporate career and replace their
Mm.
corporate income in the next year.
Right. Yep.
I thought I was going to,
Yeah. It's a
but
journey.
it's a
It's a long
journey.
journey. Yeah.
It's a journey.
Yep.
So you just have to be really convicted and remember your why. So for me, it was I will never have anyone tell me again that I need to make arrangements for my son at 11 p.m. at night
Mm.
because you can't flex my schedule to the next day when he's with his dad.
Yeah. Wow. And when you talk about like what your body had done to itself and your hormones and like things happening there, it makes me think of sorry about that. It makes me think of people who run, whether it's a half marathon, a marathon, or even a 5K, and they're not typically used to it, or they're running and they're running and they're running because that's what you're doing in your corporate. Like you're working, you're doing what you feel like you need to do. And then all of a sudden one day you stop. And this could be because you're burnout. This could be, like in my case, I was laid off. Like there could be a multitude of reasons. But that moment that you stop, it's almost like, and if you think about a plane landing and how it's like the rush of air against each other, and it's like almost feels like you hit a brick wall in some way,
Mhm.
and your
Yeah.
body is like, what the heck is happening? And kind of waking up to that. So you, myself, so many others I've heard that have stepped away from corporate for one reason or another. I've heard like your body, it's taking that time to adjust and
Oh,
to try to figure out like what is this normal? Like where do I go from here? That kind of thing.
yeah. Oh my gosh. It's not used to slowing down.
No, no. It's used to 100 miles per hour because
Mhm.
that's what you've had to do all these years.
So when we're not going back to, let's just say after a few days or a week or a couple weeks, if we're not going back to that rat race, like our body starts getting anxious because it's like all these warning signs going off. Like,
Mhm.
what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Because you're not in that hustle mode all the time.
Yep.
So I could go on and on about just how bad it is for us to just go, 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 go all the time, right?
Yep.
So think about it. If you're working a 5-day work week, um, if for folks that work retail, a lot of them and other industries too. I go back to retail because that's my experience, but a lot of those folks are working more than 5 days a week. So on their one day off, or maybe one and a half, two, think about it. you're not resting. You're doing your laundry, you're cutting the grass, you're getting groceries, right? You're doing life stuff.
Yep.
You're trying to get caught up on all the things that you can't do during the workday. You're
Yeah.
trying to nurture
Not
all these
pausing at all.
relationships. Yeah, you're not
Yep.
pausing. So when you've got that white space and that time to be able to pause, it's uncomfortable is what it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm wondering, Amanda, like, before people even get to burnout, like, are there some things that I don't know if I want to say warning signs or like, are there things that people may want to think about or may want to do so that they're not headed into that burnout territory?
Yeah. So let's start with your relationship with others. Okay. So, and this is where I should have seen, like looking back, I should have had huge red flags. Um, if you know, let's just go here. If you're married, you're in a relationship with a partner, and your relationship is suffering because of your career, because you're working too much, because you're bringing it home. Okay, that is a very very good indicator that something is going on. So many people will tell us, well, that's just life,
Mm.
right? That's just life.
Yep.
Maybe we saw it when we were growing up, right? Maybe our parents brought it home with them. When your burnout and your stress and your overwhelm bleeds into other parts of your life, that's a first indicator that something is out of alignment. Maybe you just need some boundaries. Maybe you're not in the right position. Maybe in your relationship, there's some pieces that aren't aligned on what the career piece of your lives look like. We cannot allow our careers to consume our lives anymore. It is killing people.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I'm guessing the pandemic has made it even worse because even though people have more flexibility because they can be at home in a lot of situations or more hybrid than maybe they used to in the past, it makes it harder to put that boundary in place because it's not everybody can close a door and leave that work behind and go be with their family and do something else. Would
Yeah,
you agree with that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, another thing outside of relationships is just how you feel. And I know that is very hard to understand right now for the most people that are listening, but your body is going to tell you. So when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? I could tell you for at least a year, I would get up and I would say, not really being serious, but I would say, I don't want to go to work today. And my body hurt.
Mhm.
It was exhausted. My feet hurt when they hit the floor. You have to listen to your body, because if we don't listen to our bodies, they're gonna make us slow down at some point,
Yep.
and it's not always in the form of a vacation,
Right.
right? It could be a big health issue.
Yep. Yeah.
So those are 2 things that I would really, really explore
Mhm.
because they're very easy to look at, but they're also difficult to be honest about.
Yep. So, Amanda, have you had clients or maybe people that you know that have realized, hey, I'm either getting to burnout or I'm in burnout? Something has to change. But then they almost have that fear of this is all I've ever known. Like, where do I go from here? And like, are there like some initial steps that you would recommend? Like, people have that awareness at first, like, this is what's going on, this is where I am, but I have no idea what to do. Like, what are maybe some things that you would say to help them look at that, other than getting you as a coach, which would be the ultimate the ultimate choice to do. Like,
That's
what
always
should
the
they
best
think about?
support.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you, here is one of the things that I love to have my clients do right out of the gate. And oftentimes we do this before we even start calming down, right? Before we start like getting ourselves in a center grounded space. I have them write a resignation letter.
And this is
And
even if
just
they don't plan to leave.
even if they don't plan to leave,
Okay.
I want you to write a resignation letter, pour out your heart into it. Don't send it. Some people just do it on their phones
Mhm.
and see how it feels. Such big shifts have come out of that one thing.
Wow.
The next thing that I would recommend, a lot of people talk about gratitude, right? Gratitude is a great thing. When you're in burnout, it's very hard to be grateful for things because you're so exhausted, right? You're like on edge, on fire, so to speak, like truly. So I have people start journaling, writing, whatever term you want to use, what they're resentful for.
Oh, okay.
We start professionally, right? What are some things that you're resentful for at work? And then we get into personally or at home. And those are great places to start with boundaries and to start looking at, okay, why am I so resentful for this? Why do I feel like I'm the only one on my team that can complete a project the right way? Why do I feel, or why am I so resentful that I'm working every weekend? I'm working during my vacation. Like, why is that? And then we start kind of digging into that piece. So those are two things that I would really recommend for anybody if you're kind of like, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know if I need support and I don't know what to do next. Those are like two great things that you could do right after this podcast and see how you feel.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. All right, Amanda, I know we're coming up on our time, which I think we could talk forever
Good.
about this topic, about all of this. Is there something that you want to share just about the work that you've done, about burnout, about corporate detox, your approach that maybe we haven't touched on yet before we go to wrap up?
Absolutely. So, first of all, um, if you've listened to this and you're like, hey, this is my reality right now, first of all, reach out. Like, I don't bite. And I'm
She
always here to
doesn't.
give somebody like what is the next step, right? Like
Yep.
a lot of people in the corporate world have never been in any sort of coaching, so it's such a foreign concept to them. So that's something that we can talk about, but we can also just talk through what are some things that you can put some tools in your toolkit right now to help you in whatever season that you're in. Another great thing that I have available, and I'm offering this for free for your listeners, is my new ebook. It is called Corporate Crossroads: Should I Stay or Should I Leave? And if you're someone that's been on the fence and maybe you know that you're burnout and like something's got to give, but you just don't know what, this is a great thing. It's an ebook. You can print it out, you can workbook it, you can do whatever you want, but it's a great way just to kind of figure out where you're at and where you're headed next. And really, that's part of the corporate detox journey. It doesn't mean you have to leave the corporate world, but I truly believe that in order for anyone to be successful, like you have to be thriving yourself before
Mhm.
your career, your business, whatever that looks like for you. Like you can't thrive in that area unless you're healthy and thriving personally. So just reach out for support. You can connect with me on social media. I have a podcast as well called the Corporate Detox Podcast. Tracy was just a guest, and we give so many tales of hope for folks out there and just different stories. So you can always just binge that as well, just to kind of see what's going on in other people's world also.
Yep, that's great. And I did get
Yeah.
your ebook. I downloaded it. There's a lot of
Yay.
good thought-provoking questions in there that people can think about, they can journal about, like to really help them on what's that next step or where might I go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll make sure that we have the link out there for anyone in the group and for our listeners on the podcast as well.
Definitely, definitely. And Amanda, I know you're in our group, Let's Talk About Layoffs, Navigating Careers and More. But if somebody wants to reach out to you directly, like what platform and what might they look up, like your handle or your name on those platforms?
Yeah, so on Facebook, I'm on Facebook honestly most of the time. So Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, all at Amanda K. McWhorter. So you can just send me a DM and I will get back to you. I just love to be able to talk people through whatever situations they're facing because burnout to me is something that we don't talk enough about, even though it is more widely talked about now since the pandemic than it was prior to that. So don't be ashamed for how you're feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And Amanda, I love too that you say, like, just because you like if somebody wants to talk to you or like they're thinking about like some of the tips that you gave during this podcast, you're not saying you need to leave corporate or you need to leave your organization. Like everybody has their own journey and that looks different for everyone. And so it's open. It's like, hey, if you did want to stay where you're at, are there things that you can do? Do you want to find a different role? Like there's things that you can do. If you want to leave and go to another organization, or like you leave the organization and you start something completely different. Like it
Yes.
it's everybody has their own unique journey and that is awesome and that's okay.
That is that is what I love about corporate detox coaching because it is not cookie cutter.
Mhm.
Every single person is different, and I'm not here to pressure you one way or another. I'm here to help you and meet you right where you're at. So, yeah, just, a lot of people because of my story being leaving the corporate world, they think that corporate detox means that, and it absolutely doesn't. It means
Right.
getting rid of all of the BS, quite honestly, that we've been told that would or should make us successful because to me, all of that is outdated now.
Mhm.
Like, working 60, 70 hours a week, being the first one in and out of your office to be able to be promoted, like that is just it's not healthy and it is not what makes you successful.
Right. Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for being on.
Thanks.
I
Thanks,
appreciate you
Tracy.
and your time. Definitely.
Yeah, and then
Um,
anybody in the group, just reach out. I'm here and I
yep.
can help talk you through anything. So, thank you for the work that you're doing. This group is
Awesome.
amazing.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening, whether you listen live or to the replay. And we'll catch you all on the next episode.